and I'm the host. Is the one part of Level Up she's not the host of? Like, is Krista crazy? What were you thinking?
Well, I can't say that I asked if you're crazy. That didn't go through my mind, but it was kind of off the cuff. I wasn't really expecting it, um, but because I'd never hosted anything before, so
And you
um,
didn't know anything about Level Up either.
I didn't know anything about Level Up. I had never been a master of ceremonies. Somebody comes to me and asks me if I want to host a podcast. I didn't know anything about podcasting. I didn't have a mic. I'm not on. I wasn't on Twitter. I wasn't on Instagram. The only thing I knew really anything about was Facebook, partly. So yeah, when I got that, I was like, really? Yeah.
Like random friend,
Very random. Yeah, but
like
I
friend, and also co-participant in a Bible study we're part of, but just a random message from a friend. It's not like we're like
yeah.
BFFs. We don't even know each other that well. And as all this was happening, and I'm just like, I'm just gonna ask him and see what he says.
Mm. It's kind of like asking a frog to go through the Sahara Desert on a safari, but it's like
Then you said yes 24
I
hours
did,
later.
yeah, I did. So
I was like, oh, really?
yeah,
And yeah, so then we launched, and Riverside went down. And then my parents were literally here praying over Riverside to go up between that 1 hour I was supposed to launch.
yes,
There were like 40 something people at the beginning of the live,
yes,
watching. I think like 20, there was like 47 or something. And then I think like 23 were still on at the end, whoever those 23
right.
people are. Definitely mostly my friends and family, because everyone's excited for this. But I launched in 10 minutes. I didn't get to tell anybody anything. And then I introduced three random strangers: Juju, co-head of Level Up; Marcus, host of the Monday Night Live talk show, the behind the scenes of Level Up, as the inspiration lies. And
Yours truly,
then
or Senor Hope.
Jesse,
No, I'm
right?
kidding.
And then Jesse for the new initiative that we want to start, Level Up Voice of the People. And so now I know everyone is like, what is going on?
What is going
What is
on?
Level Up, first of all? So I wanted to title this Level Up Lowdown. And I think this will be super helpful for you too, Marcus, because
Oh yes,
you're blind and you can ask the questions that I know so many
yes.
are asking.
As you guys may have already kind of heard me allude to, I'm learning just like you guys are. So there's much that I don't yet know, but I am your host. It doesn't know.
Yes. And
I'm
these like really good talk show inspirations like
yeah,
Johnny Carson, that
Johnny
we've talked about,
Carson.
and
Um,
my parents used to watch and
yeah,
stuff, like to bring back the
he's my
nostalgia.
favorite. Yes, very much so. And well, when Johnny Carson came on, I was growing up. It was time to go to bed. So but
Yeah.
I never got to watch. So, but now I go back and watch the stuff that they used to watch. So, but
Yeah, and we heard it from like a secondhand perspective. We heard like
yeah.
the adults talking about these things.
Hmm.
And that now I was just seeing I watched that documentary on HBO, and it talked about all of the hosts and the basically the history of talk shows. It was like
Yeah.
I think a 3 or 4 episode series. Um and it was so cool because I learned so much, and I wasn't allowed to watch them when I was younger. And
Right.
then I've only seen clips of like the more current ones over the last 2
Hmm.
decades. So like seeing I don't know, there's just a unique,
Yes.
I don't know how to describe it. He had a thing, right?
He did. He was just gifted. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting though because you made a good point, that you noticed that he knows really how to dig in.
Yeah. Well, he
Like,
knows. I think one of his biggest things is he knows how to let his guests. He knows how to let them be themselves, basically. And once he kind of gets them going, he just sits back and, he's part of the audience just like everybody else. So, but which is really the job of a good host is to
Yeah. Yeah, I
let you
think
get
that's
stuff
right.
out.
And then also, appealing to what people really want to know.
Mhm.
And it seems to be that a lot of times that tends to be more just like unscripted and
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, I lost my train of thought. I can't believe I'm doing this weekly live thing. But I knew that with the podcast, that there needed to be a name to the face connection
Mhm.
because the podcast doesn't launch till December 24th. It is a podcast mini series. We will have 4 done and ready by the time we launch. And so, narcissism with Melissa Leitner,
Mhm.
healing with Leah Marshall and Melissa Leitner, um,
Oh,
Parenthood and Prodigals with Carrie Arnold, business with Denise Olivas. So as I'm working on these podcast series and they'll release like the whole series of narcissism is going to
mhm.
launch the podcast and that will release all at once on the podcast internet near all of you.
Right.
Spotify, Apple, Podbean.
What time on December 24th?
I don't know. That's a very good question. What do you think?
Well, um, December. Well, let me think.
So, like December
Dec-
24th, the significance of that is it's my grandma's birthday and she died March 7th. So,
mhm.
her birthday is Christmas Eve and it's a big deal. There's a
Okay.
breakfast at the lunchbox in the morning. There was
Right.
like a big party at night. Like her birthday, it wasn't Christmas Eve, it was grandma's birthday. And so we won't have her this year and it's going to be
Right.
really hard.
Right.
And so I wanted to do something in honor of her because she was really excited about Level Up and I wish she could have seen it launch.
Yeah.
So December
Well,
24th is the day, but like the time, what do you think? I don't know.
well, first of all, if I can say this, we know where she is, so I think in a way she is seeing it. So you know,
Yeah, that's
but
true.
and she's proud. So, but as far as time, and well, I know you and I, for instance, we live in 2 different time zones.
Oh yeah, and we've never met in person.
We've never met in person. Um, gosh, because I know people normally, around beyond like 4, 5, 6 o'clock, they're starting to think about dinner and um, or well, not necessarily Christmas dinner, but um, starting to think about quiet family time and
Yeah,
maybe the kids want to go to the tree and open one present before they open the other 10 or 12 on Christmas, that
yeah,
type of thing. So
exactly.
I'm thinking maybe a
Maybe I'll
little bit,
launch it at 12 a.m. then on Christmas
yeah,
Eve.
maybe 12 a.m.
Yeah, like
um
launch it at midnight then the day before.
we can, yeah. Yeah, so like
Like
December
I don't really
23rd
care about the
going into
time.
December 24th.
Huh?
So like that would be December 23rd going into December
Hmm.
24th, right? Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So it launches at the start of December 24th. And
Okay.
um I never intended to launch narcissism first. That's for sure. It just so happened that the pieces of the puzzle came together
It just
with
happened
Melissa and I
that
doing it
way.
together.
Got you.
But I wasn't intending to launch that one first. I was going to launch healing first, or I don't know, something
Mhm.
else. Not like let's dive right into Krista's trauma, tell the world about it. But I feel like I'm supposed to. I'm pretty sure I'm supposed to launch narcissism first, even though I said
Mhm.
no when I first felt God like prodding me. It
Yeah.
was the series I recorded first, and it is the one that has been the most important to me so far.
Right.
Because it's such a huge part of my journey. So yeah,
Big
Christmas
issue in
Eve
our world.
narcissism. It might not make sense, but there's a reason that I did it
Mhm.
that way. And
It will
yeah,
make sense when it happens.
yeah. Well, and each series is going to help someone different
Mhm.
because some people are not going to care about narcissism if they've never experienced it or don't know anything about it. Some people, will care about the healing series and
Mhm.
talking about the triggers and the 5 love languages and some people care about business and learning more about how to effectively run your business well,
Right.
with marketing, with your employee retention and human capital management and stuff. So parenthood and prodigals, like kids who have parent problems with their parents, parents who have problems with their kids. This is the place where I'll talk, and my parents will talk about our experience,
Hmm.
as parents and kids, and hopefully, create an environment where people can open up and talk and, help each other really heal and level up together. So there's all these different parts for the podcast. But then this thing launched October 20th, which is totally different.
Our
So,
Level Up podcast on Monday. Yes. Or
well, see,
actually,
this is not the podcast. This is
so
Level Up
I was
YouTube.
about to say, dumb question. Can this we have on Monday really be called a podcast by
So
definition?
here's the thing: if you have a video podcast, like a lot
Mhm.
of podcasters have a video podcast on YouTube, it's typically what you hear on the podcast, but you can watch the video of the actual recording.
Okay.
So for people who'd rather listen to the radio, they're going to be more interested in going to, Apple Podcasts or
Hmm.
Spotify or wherever, to listen to it instead of watch it.
Okay.
But that's not what this is. We will have video podcasts, but they probably won't be on the audio only thing. It'll be a
Right.
video, like a mini series video, podcast
Okay.
series specifically. This is like the Level Up Monday weekly live, and it's not that it's unrelated to the podcast, but it's not a video podcast. It's like a YouTube live series. And we talk about everything having to do with Level Up, to include the podcast. Because
I'm so
Level Up
happy
is
to know
like
what I'm
all
hosting.
different things now.
I feel empowered. So yeah,
You feel empowered?
I do. I feel empowered. Yeah,
I
I really do.
love that. Tell me more.
Tell you more. Well, um, due to my naivete, is that a word?
Naivety?
Naive. Oh, there we go.
I
Naivety.
think. I think that's
Yeah,
how my mom says it. I know she says it right.
that sounds
Naivety.
good. Yeah, naivety,
But it
naivete,
could be
naivety. Yeah.
naivety.
So, um, my ignorance. There we go. Um, as far as hosting anything, as I was saying before, I was very nervous just because I didn't want to. I felt like I had two left feet coming into this, but I was still excited about somebody. I was excited that you saw enough in me that you would even ask me. So I was like, well, I I prayed about it, and I heard a little voice inside that says, "Why not?" You're saying why, and why not? Why you have your own trauma story. Maybe there's an area where eventually you'll be able to help somebody. So you know, um, but I did notice that was probably one of the first links that I did notice as you and I were talking about kind of the foundation of Level Up was
Mhm.
helping people. That was one of the things was helping people deal with traumas and life's problems. And God knows I've had my share. So as I'm, as we all have. So, but a lot of times we get into um, areas of life where we don't really know how to handle it.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, even though you do have people that care about you, they don't really know, they don't really grasp um, the level of the trauma that you're dealing with. And it becomes hard to explain. So, anyway, I was excited about being a part of giving people a safe place to come to if they have ideas, if they have questions, if they have concerns, they can come here and share those things without the fear of being judged. Um, they'll know that everybody here cares about everybody else. There is no preconceived notions. There's no we're not going to take what you say um, and sit here and wonder now why did she ask that? Did she have
Mhm.
an agenda? He asked that because they really want to know. That's why they ask, you
Hmm.
know. How can we help the person is my main drive, and I know it is yours too. So that's kind of what I was excited about.
Yeah, and I just remember after you said yes, then we're, pitching ideas because basically you're like, "What am I doing exactly?" And I'm
And
like,
like,
"I don't really know yet. We're figuring
now,
it out."
now that
Me
we've
too.
covered that, what am I doing again? Yeah,
Yeah. But I see the spark in you because, as we're talking and I told you, you have to come up with a bit because like your bits and your accents are hilarious. And
really, really.
the I think let me see if I can remember when you're like,
I didn't
"I'm
hear
your
that. Not
main man,
that
Marcus.
one.
Welcome to the Level Up Igloo,
Yeah,
a warm spot for a cold, cold world."
cold, cold world. That's right.
And I just remember hearing that and I was like, that's exactly what I want. That's exactly what I envision. Like, I know the vision for what I'm doing. I know the integral parts,
Hmm.
and the people have come into play over 5 years of building this now, and going through my own journey. And I really just want to build this collective that feels supported
Sure.
and safe, seen, heard, and loved, because it's really hard to communicate your issues. Like when you feel like you're the only one with this problem, or like I'm such a mess, and like the black sheep of the family, and everyone's always trying to help me, and like when you feel like that, then you don't want to talk about the things.
Right.
And if you feel guilty and ashamed for making bad decisions, then you don't want to be judged either or put on
Right.
display. But
Right.
if you have a safe place to be able to do that,
Hmm.
that's what revolutionizes
Right.
your opportunity to change your life. Because, like, when you can be open and raw and tell people the real things and build real, genuine, authentic friendships by first opening your mouth, like I learned to do, I have had amazing friends my whole life, but I have lost friendships making
Hmm.
bad decisions. I have lost opportunities for relationships even by not saying the things that I really felt.
Right.
I felt like it was putting myself on display. I didn't. It gave. I felt like it gave people power over me to know my inner heart, and now I'm like, that's the only thing I want my tribe to know is my inner heart. And when you can be honest about the biggest, ugliest, hardest struggles,
Yeah.
and then someone else is like, "I'm going through this. I've been through this, or I've been through that. Here's something that you might want to think about." Like that, I want to build that kind of kingdom collective.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely. But I know just for um I know some of the conversations that I've been privileged to have with um certain ones, whether it be, certain family members or close friends or whatnot. There are a lot of people out there right now that are dealing with guilt,
Yeah.
um, and even worse, dealing with shame. And I say that one of the quotes, and I can't remember exactly where I read it, but it's an awesome quote. Guilt, and the quote was, and I'm paraphrasing, but it said, "Guilt says what I did was bad. Shame says I'm bad." It goes to another level. Um, but when people are dealing with shame and dealing with shame every single day, and they don't have a way of lifting those weights, um, even dealing with guilt, if guilt is not um, expressed and dealt with, it can turn into shame, and then you're dealing with something even heavier. And if you continue to bear that weight, a lot of times it gets into, extremely serious situations where people are suffering, serious depressions. The word suicide starts being thrown around, and it's there's a lot of sad stories out there of people who have taken their lives, and the people around them, oh my gosh, I didn't even realize they were going to,
Hmm.
you know because they felt like they didn't have an outlet. Um, but I think giving people those outlets and just giving people a listening and a genuine listening ear and a heart, it goes a long way, a real long way. And I won't go into the specifics of this now, maybe later, but my my current boss, supervisor, I discussed a health issue that I was dealing with him, and he told me one of the most touching things I've ever heard from a manager. He said, "Marcus, we can't offer you very much, but he said one thing we can offer you is compassion." Um, and that really struck a very serious chord. And I am basically sitting here thinking all of the companies that could offer me a lot um, didn't offer me compassion. And as far as I'm concerned, that's what he gave me was far more than anybody else did. So um, greatly appreciative to him for that. But that's the type of thing I know how I felt when he told me that, and that's what I would love to provide for other people. Um, a place where they don't have to feel ashamed, they don't have to feel guilty, they don't have to feel apprehensive about sharing what they've been through. Um, we've all done things that God knows I've done things that I've regretted. Um, but unfortunately, we can't turn back the hands of time. All we can do is keep pressing on. So if we can help people, understand that the past is the past, and that even though people may judge you, God will never judge you. He's already judged Jesus in our place, thank God. And by His blood, we're justified. So, and that's the good news.
Yeah, and I think it's important to learn how to communicate,
Yeah.
effectively and articulately
Mhm.
with your people aside from trauma too.
Sure.
Like I realized a new depth of friendships, like you and I have, or like Juju and I have, um, like I have with my parents and a lot of my family members. I realized, it's not just about talking about the trauma, it's
Mhm.
about building a relationship and doing life
Right.
together
Right.
and leveraging each other's strengths and weaknesses instead of trying to put on a face when, certain things are harder for me to do than for someone else. And I used to compare myself and try to keep up with the rat race that I just felt like I was always failing at and never as good at, peopling for one thing. But like in general, I'm a planner because Krista's not good in a crisis. Krista's like the child of the group that's like, I don't know what to do. Like, and so, when you can do life together and talk about where it's hard, it just opens this channel of depth and authenticity to where you can truly show up for each other. And and it's not always about like asking for help,
Right.
because you shouldn't have to ask for help when people already know what's going on. If they don't know what's going on in your life, I have that responsibility to tell them,
Right.
but I think I used to just pigeonhole in my selfish spiral of like, it's just so hard and no one understands. And, I did this and this, like, and now I realize, well, open your mouth and say it. If you feel this way, don't let bitterness spiral. Like, open
Yep.
your mouth and say the thing. And it has truly changed my life to give the type of friendship and relationship and communication that I want to receive. Because it's easy to expect people to do certain things, but it wasn't until I had to level up and do it first, even if they weren't doing it. Like, I want the truth. Well, they're not being truthful. I'm not going to be truthful to them. I had to level up and start living on display the type of thing that I wanted. And and it opened up this like entire journey of growth and deeper friendships than I've ever had in my life, because openness and vulnerability truly is the key to safety. And when you feel safe, then you want to talk.
Hmm.
And when you want to talk, you can get the help that you need
Right.
from people here on earth, and obviously help from the power of the one true living God,
Right.
which ultimately changed my life, and that's why I launched on October 20th.
What's that
That's
scripture
my,
say? He who would have friends must first be friendly.
yeah. Yeah, it's a lot easier to say
Yeah,
than it is to live out.
it sure is. Yeah,
Yeah.
very easy to say, but you know,
Yeah. It is it is definitely easier to use words,
yeah,
and not back it by actions. So, like,
yeah,
uh the there's this quote, and I think it's by Dr. Maya Angelou. Like, it doesn't matter if you say you love people if they don't feel loved by you. Oh, and that was a hard cookie to swallow like 4 years ago, as I was starting to go through therapy and mentorship and coaching, and really wanted to change
yeah,
my life and level up, like doing what's right as God wants me to do, and also being better, living better. And it's hard to say, to be like, okay, do they know that I love them? Do they know that they know that they know? Like, I'm not really sure, because I don't know. Like, I'm not really sure they could say that. Well, if they can't say that, then I need to do the things that they're asking me to do, like whatever it is, however my friend feels loved.
right,
If they don't feel loved by me, it doesn't matter if I say, "Oh, I love you and I did this, this, and this." If what they want is for, I don't know, like a weekly phone call from me, and I just don't want to do that because I'm like all over the place all the time, and like always pulled in a million different directions. Like, if something is important to someone else,
hmm,
and I just don't want to do it because I'm being lazy, I want to do something else instead, that's my responsibility. And I have walked through that journey of really realizing, how to have good relationships by changing myself first. And I just want to live it on display and do it with
right.
other people, um, that it can help, because life is freaking hard. Life is
Yes,
really hard.
yes. I know my dad told me this story one time when I must have been about two, yeah, 1 or 2 years old. I was in a stroller. Um, and I was in a store in a walk down the sidewalk. Anyway, wherever I was, this gentleman was walking past, and apparently, I'm like a toddler in a store. I called out to him and said, "Hey, how you doing?" And he looked down. He was like, "Hey, I'm fine. How are you?" "I'm great." And this is like a little kid that has no trust issues, that has no fear, has no apprehension whatsoever about greeting somebody that I've never seen before in my life and probably will never see again. And now it's a lot harder for me to go up to a perfect stranger and do what I just did when I was 1 year or two or whenever it was that I could actually talk. But
Mhm,
um and I had to ask myself, what happened,
mhm,
in all these years. Why wasn't it a problem then and it's a problem now? And assuredly the Holy Spirit came to me and said, um, because you didn't have trust issues then.
mhm,
Um, you've had things that have happened to you that you have allowed to, since this portion of human nature has done this to you, then that portion of the rest of human nature must be the same way. And that's not the case.
mhm,
Um, you have good portions of human nature, you have bad portions of human nature. But the thing that came to me is when you were 1, 2 years old, you saw the good in everybody. You weren't old enough to realize that there was evil in people. You only saw the best. So
mhm,
because you only saw the best, all you saw was the opportunity to make another friend. You didn't see the opportunity or the possibility of, being judged or making an enemy or, um, you know, this person harming you in some way. You never looked at people in that way. But because of life happening now, you know, if you don't handle it correctly, you can begin to look at people in a negative light, and it can change the way that you approach um, situations or approach public situations or just approach walking up to somebody on the street. And will I say hi? Will I say hello? Yes,
Mhm.
no. Will I let them walk by? But what opportunity, if I don't say hi, that could be my next, that could be my confidant for the next 40 years. But if I
Mhm.
don't say hello and they never say hello, we just walk past each other and never have the chance to meet. And I think that's, I know for me personally, I'll say I have dealt with that, but I think that a lot of people out there are dealing with that as well. You have trust issues because you've been hurt so many times, whether it be by a parent, whether it be by, you know, whoever it was by somebody that you loved and you trusted, and they broke your trust. So now you don't want to have your trust broken again. You don't want to have your heart broken again. So now you become apprehensive about um, basically opening yourself up. But um, I think in following our Lord's example, he's hurt. Even now, sitting at God's right hand, he's hurt every single day because people reject him every single day. But he never stops loving them. He never stops. Um, Bible says he's interceding for us right now. Even those that don't want him, that curse him, he still loves them. He still wants them to repent. He shed his blood still for them. I know that I have problems with this as an introvert. Sometimes you hold grudges. I hope I'm not going too long here. Let me know if I am.
No, you're
But
good.
um, I'm having to learn how to. It's a decision to forgive. It's a decision to let go of things because honestly, it's more for your health and your well-being than it is really for anybody else. So, um, but I hope, um, at least as a host of the Monday night sessions, I hope this will be a place that people will feel comfortable opening up. We're not here to judge anybody. We're
Mhm.
not definitely don't want you to feel this is a shame free zone. It's a guilt free zone.
Mhm.
All of us, as I said before, all of us have things that um, or illness, whether it be an illness, whether it be something we've done, whether it be um, an event that happened to us that was traumatic. All of us have had things that have happened that are negative, and if we don't express those things, that's when it becomes a very serious weight that can be detrimental to our health. So, that,
Yeah, and I just want to love people better,
mhm.
than I did when I was bitter and I wasn't happy in my life. And um, I've done a lot of things here and there, and in changing my life little by little, like I mentioned before, as far as going back to church and mentorship and discipleship and coaching and drama coaching and building deeper friendships and really going past the surface level.
Mhm.
And so on October 20th, God touched me. And this was after healing in little ways for a year and a half leading up to that. But when God touched me, I remember leaping up off the couch because I was like, God loves me. Like, I have never experienced anything like that moment in my entire life. It was literally like there like Krista 2.0 is a totally different person. I feel like I love people better after that day because I never knew what it was like to feel that loved and accepted despite all my mistakes, all my failures, walking away from God for a decade and stopped going to church and just like found myself in a lot of misery
Mhm.
among the success of the world. It's not all it's cracked up to be.
Yes.
And when God healed me in that day, that's the day that the concept for Level Up started, because I just wanted everybody else to know that type of love. And if I can be a part of giving that here on earth, I want to help people feel the same way that my parents helped me feel when I was broken, and they never let go.
Right.
And and
That's what love's all about.
exactly.
Yep.
And so that's really what started the idea for the podcast and mini series. And because I had been doing a lot of healing from narcissism, um, when I became friends with Melissa, well, and you as well, through Chiki, we started talking about narcissism. And one day I randomly asked her if she wanted to do a series on narcissism with me. And she said the same thing you did. She was like, yes, I do. And so that's how people have sort of come in line with this, and the puzzle pieces have just fallen into place. So there's, the podcast of miniseries that is, it's pre-recorded.
Hmm.
It's not live like this. It's we record over video, but the only the audio is released. I have an
Okay.
audio editor of the intro and the outro. That's very um, like educational and
Hmm.
a lot of work and money and sacrifice of time by the people that have come alongside. Like that's been one thing, but aside from that, and also because all of the miniseries are different, because I'm building a collective of outliers, so there's all kinds of different things I want to talk about, can talk about, and would like other people to talk about with me. um,
So
with
let
the
me ask you,
video.
where can people go to see these podcasts about narcissism, about healing, about um, love, about the things that you're talking about with, I believe Leah, Melissa are the two, right?
Yeah, well, they're two of the four that we'll have,
Okay.
done by the time we launch. So, Narcissism is a four-part series that'll launch on December 24th. So you
Okay.
can find it by just looking up Level Up Podcast on
Okay.
Spotify or Apple Podcasts or Podbean or wherever. But also you'll be able to like just go to the website, which
Gotcha.
is not live yet, but will be before December 24th. And that's levelupppodsquad.com. So that will have all the info right there. And on one of these Monday lives, we can let the world know um, what's coming when the website launches, and they can go there and they can see the different things that we're doing. And so, there's a lot of different things in play. We have this, which I really want to be a sort of the casual,
Hmm.
real people side of things. Like, the podcast episodes, they take hours and hours of planning and researching
Right.
the information that we want to give, and
Sure.
definitions of things. Like this is real Krista, and I can tell
Right.
you what's going on and all of that, but like that's different than what you're going to hear on the podcast. And I also
Right.
want people to see our faces. I want people to see the faces and get to know the real people behind um what they're going to hear.
Right.
Melissa, Leah, Carrie, Denise on the podcast, and also the people that have come alongside in different ways, like my parents. I'm excited to do an episode with them, with
Hmm.
you on the I think the next Monday live,
As am I.
um,
Yeah.
where people can see my parents' perspective of
Sure.
like this, and as they learn what Level Up is too, because my worlds are colliding. The people of Level Up, I've really built this in
Yeah.
secret in the quiet place, like as I've been on this healing journey.
Yeah. I
Um,
really look forward to hearing their wisdom. Hmm.
yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see what they say about me. This is like that moment where you're like, oh my gosh, are my parents going to tell embarrassing stories about me? But that's literally what this is for, because I want people to see the making of Level Up, and the making of it is the house that built me and the people that have come alongside in this collective to band together. Like Knights at the round table, brothers at the round table.
Mhm.
Doesn't matter who you are, what color you are, where you're from, what you believe in. Doesn't matter. You know, as long as we are respectful to each other, we can come together and do mighty, mighty work. And so I have the podcast is one part. We have this that we launched prior to the podcast launching, because I want
Mhm.
the YouTube lives to be. I mean, you guys, the world's growing with us. Like,
Oh, yeah.
we have a vision, but we don't know what we're doing on all fronts.
The world is leveling up. Whoa.
Yeah, well, we're leveling up little by little,
That's right.
and each time it gets a little easier to be on display on live, and I really shy and I didn't want to do any of this, but I feel like God told me to tell my story in case it could help anyone. And I didn't
Yeah.
want to tell my story because I'm just like shy and introverted. But if it can help one person or change the trajectory of their life in a positive way,
Yes.
it's all worth it.
That is
And
so
that's the
worth
heart of
it
the
for me to go to Barnes and Noble and pick up a book that is entitled Podcast for Dummies. So yeah, and some of the things that, just but yeah. So
Well,
I'm
and that's general, because a lot of people are like, wait, you launched on October 20th, but wait, you didn't launch it. What's a podcast? What's the
yeah.
difference
What
between
is
the
a podcast?
YouTube thing
Yeah,
and the
yeah. What
podcast?
is a podcast?
Wait, like, I don't understand. Who are these people that are being introduced? What is the Monday night thing?
Right.
Like, what's going on? Here's how you can make it better.
Yeah.
And so now we've launched, and I've introduced, part of the core squad, like as far as the different things that I'm doing,
Mhm.
with Juju and Level Up Podcast and you and the Level Up YouTube Igloo. Um,
The igloo.
and
The
yeah, to talk
igloo.
about the real life stuff, because life is hard. Like,
Yes.
but you need a safe place to talk about it. Otherwise, people get all freaked out and
That's
look at
right.
you weird and yell at you. And
It's cold on the tundra, but there's fire in the igloo. Oh, yeah.
yes,
That's right.
yeah, exactly. And then lastly, the Level Up Voice of the People is, a
Mhm.
newer initiative that just started a few weeks ago, where
That's
me
that's
and
with Jesse, right?
yeah, that's with Jesse.
Mhm.
And so we're still trying to figure all of that out. And I don't know, what the details are going to entail, but um we just really want to provide like a safe space where people can come and talk about things, whether it be, having to do with politics or even division in the church, and the things that have been happening in this nation have just reached, I think, a
Yeah.
boiling point of where
There's a
people
lot of division
cannot,
going on for sure. Yeah.
huh?
There's a lot of division in our
Yeah, where
nation
people
right
can't
now.
even get along.
Yeah.
Like, they can't even have a
Yeah.
conversation without someone getting triggered and mad and running away. And
And for rather silly reasons a lot of times, when you really think about it. But
yeah, you know, humanity, like, we need to learn to love past humanity and not look at the box that someone's in and ask them where they fit before deciding whether they're worth our time
right.
and our conversation. And I really truly believe that you can learn at least one thing from every single person.
Oh
And
yeah,
if you want to
for sure.
try to learn what that thing is, it really creates a catalyst, or it is a catalyst to create actual conversations where you learn things that you didn't realize. It makes a little more sense when you
Yep.
see the other shoe and how the other person has experienced things that you don't understand, because all we know is our own story.
Right.
We
Right.
project and we look at things through the goggles of our experiences in the past, and
Right.
now, it's all about where people sit on the spectrum, if it's red or blue. And that's the first thing people ask. Or um the division within the church over things like Charlie Kirk. And I've just seen so much hatred, and Jesse and I started talking about these things, and we'd really like to create some type of forum where people are able to do that. And so, um we'll keep everyone posted on the progress with that. But we decided to call it Level Up Voice of the People. because if you are a person here in the US, you matter and your
Sure.
voice matters. And I'm tired of seeing people's voices be squashed by teachers' friends in the system that are overworked, underpaid, and
Right.
given impossible goals.
Yes.
I was homeschooled, so I was never even in the public school system. I'm just over here being like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are squashing the good ones.
Yeah.
What is happening here?" And this is not good. The way
Yeah.
that the public sector is running things, I don't think that there's transparency
Right.
between the government and the people. And if we just start talking and really seeing whether we are like the decisions being made are representing the
Hmm.
actual voice of the people, until we do that, um, things are just going to continue creating more division, and it's going
Right.
to reach a boiling point where we're vulnerable for attack when we can't even run to set our like to take water because a neighbor's house is on fire because we don't like them because of their political stance. Like if
Yeah.
we've really reached a point in this country where we can't fight for the lives of our neighbor,
Right. Over
we're
political party foolishness. Yeah.
yeah.
But I was in my social studies class, and I, for whatever reason, it stuck with me. This was like, gosh, 30 years ago. But I remember we were studying about George Washington and his farewell address, and he said, in essence, it was far more eloquent than this, but he was basically warning the United States as he was leaving office to stay away from political parties, because if you get involved in that, it's going to split the country in two. We didn't listen to him, and lo and behold, he's a prophet. We are indeed split right down the middle. It doesn't matter, really doesn't matter who's president. There's, for the most part, always going to be 50% of the population that's happy with him,
Mhm.
50% of the population that's unhappy with him, because the Republicans love him, the Democrats hate him, or and vice versa. And um, just being transparent myself, that's kind of why I register as an independent, because I never wanted my beliefs or my convictions to be attached to a political party, because at least for myself, and from my stance, they're almost like glorified cliques. But
Mhm.
and I just never, and I hope I don't say that to offend anybody, but
You can't
um
say anything without offending someone these
yeah,
days.
that's true. But I never really saw the need to attach myself to one or the other to say this is what I believe. I can say this is what I believe without having to attach either one. So, um,
Yeah, I love what George Washington said, and I learned
yeah.
that last year after I got involved, or not involved, but interested in politics for the first time really in my life. Like after watching the
Mhm.
Biden Trump debate, and I was like, did that just happen on national television? What's happening in our country? And so I did a deep dive, and I loved when I saw that George Washington said exactly what I was feeling, which was
Mhm.
be careful about the creation of the political parties because down the line they can become an engine to subvert the power of the people. And that's
Yes,
what's happening
that's
is
exactly
that
what's happening.
everybody at the top is fighting with each other first of all
Yeah.
and getting all the attention, bad or good, and then the others at the top are making the decisions, and
Right.
the voice of the people is squashed.
It's being
It's
squashed.
not okay.
Exactly.
It's not okay. I'm just a little peon from here in El Paso, Texas, on the border. Like, it's blue city in a red state.
Right.
And it has been very fascinating to grow up here and
Yeah.
see the way that people talk about each other or the
Yeah.
way that Texas treats El Paso because
Yeah.
we're blue, like kind of forgotten. And I'm
Yeah.
like, we're right on the border.
Yeah.
Juarez is 10 minutes away. Like, and New Mexico is 10 minutes from my apartment. Like, this is a place where it really is a melting pot in a
Right.
way. Um, that it just provides this very interesting perspective. And so I feel like the people in my city's voice has been squashed.
Mhm.
I feel like my voice has been squashed. And I just want to understand what is happening because
Right.
it doesn't look like the decisions at the top
Yeah.
or what's best for the country. And I
Yeah.
just want to know what's going on and talk about other people, talk to other people to get their perspective and hear their stories.
Right.
Because I just want to learn now. Over the
Yeah.
last year and a half, I'm like, I
Yeah.
just want to learn everything. The electoral college, I forgot how that worked, like
Mhm.
how the representatives and these things work. Like
Yeah.
I didn't
I
remember
always
a lot of this
I always
stuff.
understood the popular vote. That one made total sense, but the electoral college, like, you know, I
Right.
never really got
Well,
how
yeah.
that works, but
Yeah, exactly. Because it doesn't really seem like the popular vote matters that much.
yeah, it doesn't. So, but because I've seen several times a president wins the popular vote, and because of the electoral college, they don't win the election. So it's like, you know, how, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Congratulations. So, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. So I don't know. And I just want to hear the voice of the people
yeah,
and talk, in a safe place. And so that's what I want to build with Jesse. And so there's sort of these three tiers, not tiers, but like prongs of what we're doing with Level Up so far. And ultimately, I expect it to grow, in other ways too. And we're looking at starting an advice column.
ooh,
Which should be lots of fun because it takes me back to the like Brio magazine days of like Dear Abby. And um, if people need help and they have no
mm,
one to ask, where do they go?
where to go?
So there's a
Yeah,
collective of people with Level Up that are gonna answer these things and help if they can.
sweet.
And I want to build all of this well, and it's just me. So a couple of years ago, I was going to give up on it, and I was like, "This is too much work." Oh my gosh,
Yeah,
like it is a lot of work to start a podcast and do it well, and it's very expensive. OMG, it's expensive. So I almost gave up, and then people came alongside and believed in it,
mhm,
and they're like, I want to be a part of this. Like, how
yeah,
can I help?" And then I just never expected that, and it's so sweet to experience because I really believe in the goal of, you know, loving people beyond humanity and creating a space where we can listen to each other, learn,
right,
and then do the journey together, level up. It's not like a conference, like no, and you go home, go back home, and no, this is a family. And little by little, it's being formed, and it's just really cool to see. So
it's
yeah,
amazing when
that's
you reach
what we
that
have so
point.
far.
It's really amazing when you reach that point that you're about to throw up your hands and you decide to give it one more try, and somehow things start aligning. But
Yeah,
and
like Juju came along, and
I think that's
so I was like, and like someone giving up and sacrificing their time that they don't have much of
mhm,
to help for free. That does not happen. Like, and I am so honored because, this is a lot. And I've never been the creative. I've always been the small business consultant. And now I'm like the creative and I need someone to manage everything else, like behind the scenes. And it's just really cool to see how one by one, you know, Juju and helping me and helping me run this thing. And then Melissa, who wanted to do my first series with me and created the conversation that
mhm,
makes it so much better than if I had done a series on narcissism alone.
right.
You need the conversation.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
then Melissa joined in and got to meet Leah on the healing series because there's a crossover. There's a crossover of post narcissism healing. Then
Right.
that's some of the topics that we discussed and like the five love languages. We wanted to do the three of us, and it's just been very. It's been a roller coaster. It is the hardest and the coolest thing I've ever done, and here we are now.
Awesome, awesome. Are you excited?
I am.
After
Um,
Captain. Yeah, you're excited, which is good.
and next week will be the episode with my parents. So I kind of want to do some of the things that we had talked about for
Mhm.
the launch that we didn't get to do when they just got to sit behind me and wave, basically.
Yes.
But
And if you guys have not, if you guys, for those of you that will be are listening now or will be listening later, if you have not met Mr. and Mrs. Snow, they are the sweetest, some of the sweetest people I've ever had the chance to talk to. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what they have to say about their beloved daughter, Krista. I'm sure that's gonna that should be very, very interesting. And I will say, Krista, I'm sure they will not say anything that would purposely embarrass you, but um
oh no, they
I
won't.
I think um
No, if
just
anything,
from
I'll
their
expose
perspective,
myself.
you probably, yeah, you will. But just hearing your story from their perspective, I think that will be very fruitful for our listeners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so too. And I don't know where all of this is going, but um little by little the pieces are coming together, and the world is watching us build Level Up together, and we're kind of all figuring it out. And she's like one big happy family because it's just a lot of broken people hanging out with each other and helping each
Pretty
other
much.
do better, live better. And you can't do that unless you know what you don't know.
Yeah.
And so yeah. Um there was something else I was gonna say. I totally forgot what it was. Mm, any other questions? I think it's like time, right? Almost the
Yeah, we're
episode.
getting there. We got about 3 more minutes left, but uh, gosh, I think we covered it pretty well. We've
I know.
talked
I'm
about
like, I have nothing else to say. I'm
all
actually
right.
good.
We talked about Level Up Podcast. We talked about Level Up YouTube with our guests. We've also talked about Level Up, the voice of the people. I do think that was very interesting. That one will get into the political side of things because we all know how volatile politics can be, but it takes some bravery to kind of tackle that because it's not politics is never an easy. It's matter of fact, it's in my humble opinion, it's one of the hardest topics there is out there right now because it's a volcano waiting to explode. But
Yeah,
um, yeah, and really thinking about politics, it shouldn't be. It's
exactly.
just basically government and how we deal with the country's issues, but people take those issues to heart, and somebody else believes the issue in another way, and they take that to heart, and they start to butt heads, and it just gets a lot nastier than it has to be. So it's good that we do have a wholesome spot to discuss things as brothers and sisters, and not as hungry wolves that are fighting over the same lamb. So, you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Like a real conversation.
yeah, exactly, the conversation.
If someone
But
doesn't understand why I believe something, I'll explain it.
yep,
If I don't understand, I can ask.
right,
It's our decision to be able to stay in the conversation, be
right.
respectful, and just explain. Like, it
Have an
doesn't
open
mean it's against you if
mind.
someone asks a question, but it's
Right,
easy to get triggered because it feels like you need to defend yourself when
right,
really you don't, unless you don't know
right,
what you're talking about and you're claiming a real, aggro opinion or something. Like,
yep,
then you're going to get defensive because you can't explain, why you did what you did or whatever.
exactly.
But everyone can just talk, no one
True.
has to get triggered. And if people want to come into the conversation, we can talk about the inflammatory topics, and I want to
Absolutely.
understand what other people think. I want to
Yeah,
know what the flip side thinks. And I also want to ask questions because I'm new to this politics thing, like a year and a half. I'm
right.
38 years old and I'm barely like reminding myself like the
Yes.
electoral college and stuff. And so I come in with, just like open hands, and I want to learn more, and I want to talk, and I
Yes.
want to see what other
Same
people
here.
think and what their experience has been.
Yeah, it is.
So,
It is very exciting, but I have some bad news. We are actually out of time.
That
But
was the
we
fastest
hope
3 minutes of my life.
that really was. It really was. But we hope you guys have enjoyed this, and we hope you guys have enjoyed Krista discussing the segments of Level Up and what they entail, what they're about, and what they're designed or what we are designing them to what's in her heart to design them to do. So, um, those of you that are watching now, we thank you for watching. Those of you that will be watching later, we are so grateful to you for watching. I am your main man, Marcus, your host. Pray for me that I be a very good host as I tackle this. But it is my pleasure, and thank you, Krista. And I will say good night and signing off. See you
Thank
next
you
week,
and good
Monday.
night.
Good night.